Richard Madenge. I am the moderator for today. Joining us is, I'll let you know who exactly are our panelists, but just before I introduce them, property investment outside Nairobi is one of the key issues that we need to consider, especially with the emergence of devolution. With the emergence of devolution, the need for urban and rural migration has become bearable, hence the need to settle outside Nairobi. And with this, we have three of the best in the industry, just to give us some tidbits or some motivations in as far as investment is concerned. First on the list is one of our very own, Peggy Mideva. Peggy Mideva is an advocate of the High Court. She has 3 years of experience as an advocate with professional experience ranging from law firms, real estate, and corporates of regional presence. Peggy also is a conveyancing and commercial and corporate lawyer, specializing in compliance-related issues. Peggy, if you can just wait for us to get to see you. There you go. Next in line is Sarah Gloria Awinja. Sarah is the managing director of Springtide Properties Limited, registered and practicing valuer. She's also a registered and practicing real estate agent. She's also a certified professional mediator, MTI. She'll tell us more about that. She's also passionate on demystifying real estate investment in the counties, currently based in Eldoret town, and she has over 10 years of professional experience, having worked for Knight and Frank Kenya, as well as Jones Lang LaSalle. She'll tell us more about them, as well as UAP Old Mutual Housing Finance. Thank you, Sarah. You can wave as well for us to get to see you. Thank you. There you go. Then last on the list, we have Jacky Muiga. Jacky Muiga has over 19 years and has assisted many people achieve their financial goals. She is an insurance agent. She has been in the Aki Awards over the years, and she has been a recipient of the Aki Awards over the years, and she is currently the executive financial advisor working with UAP Old Mutual Group. She'll be joining us shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, just as I said, with the emergence of devolution, the need for urban and rural migration has become bearable. And it is for this reason that we have invited the best of the best in the industry, just to give us what needs to be done, just to give us as well information in as far as this is concerned. Thank you, ladies. First of all, probably what I can do is just to let Peggy give us the floor. Take the floor, sorry.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to do this with you. I'll majorly tackle property law in Kenya, not limiting to outside Nairobi, but giving it the bigger spotlight. We are going to deal in 3 areas, which is going to be the acquisition process, the various regimes, how to protect that land once you have acquired it, and how to pass it on to another person. So those are the 3 areas that are really important when you're acquiring property. You need to understand what kind of regime are you obtaining. So for the longest time in the past, we've had land issues and land reform issues coming to play, with various committees coming up with reports, like the Ndungu report, on how public land should be allocated to everyone. This is mostly land that is assigned to police station, public schools, and all that, and how best to protect them. So all these came prior to the new constitution, but the constitution now condensed it into now various regime, into public land, private land, and community land. So we are going to tackle mostly on the private land, since now public land is already taken care of by the guys who own it, which is the government. And I'll go straight on to the land tenure system in Kenya. So we are purely an agricultural economy where we have over 80% of our land utilized towards agriculture and only about 20% that is mostly commercial. So in this regard, most people who seek land for development, they end up with unsuitable ones for projects because they bought it not knowing the actual state of it. So the two regimes that I'll dwell on this time, it will be freehold and leasehold. So freehold is the greatest interest a person can have on land. It gives the person an absolute ownership of the land for life. This means that if the land belongs to your grandfather, it means it automatically goes to your father and then goes to you and goes to the rest of your generations to come. It is unrestricted, and the use is, you can use it and occupy it for whatever. It's not conditional. So the best example will be most of the upcountry land. So when you're purchasing land that you intend to be a home or something that wants to be an asset that will remain within your family for generations, it's advisable to go to the freehold one because it is not term specific. It is yours for as long as you want to keep it. And then the second regime is the leasehold. This is the interest in land for a specific period of time. For example, the most land in urban centers, the municipalities, not really Nairobi, but all the counties, as long as they fall within the belt of a municipality, they have this land that is on leasehold. A good example is Embu, the land in Embu town where we have the shopping centers and all that. That is leasehold. So I, as an investor, will approach the county government of Meru or Embu and tell them I want some piece of land owned by the county. They will give me a leasehold, which varies from 25 years to 99 years. So once I get that land for that period of time, it is mine to utilize and take care of for that duration. However, if I get the land and for over 10 years, there's nothing happening, then the property can revert back to the government, because now you've been given land that you're not utilizing, or you're utilizing it in a way that is inconsistent with the development agenda of the county. So unlike freehold, leasehold is restrictive. And then once the term is over, the leaseholder, you can also apply for renewal or an extension. So if you do not wait for the land to expire, let's say you have a leasehold of 45 years, if you do not wait for it to expire, it means you can actually just extend. If you've been given for 45 years, you can actually just extend it for another, let's say like 15 years. But if you wait for it to expire, it means the land goes back to the person who gave you. If it's the county government, if it's whatever. So you are losing the right to it and you have to reapply for a renewal, which can be accepted or denied depending on the development plan and agenda of the county. Then I'll move straight to the second area of my presentation, which will be land protection. So now you've bought the land, you've chosen whichever regime you want, but now there are some elements who won't let you to quietly utilize the land as you had planned. So there are other regimes for land protection, where the law sets out processes where now you as a landowner can protect your land from third parties. So we have two, which is the caveat and the caution. There are many more, but I'll restrict myself to these two. So what is a caveat? The word caveat means warning or proviso. The lodging of a caveat of a property is a way of telling anyone who wants to deal with the property to know someone else's interest already has priority. So for example, when you walk around Karen, you'll find there's a small board on the land written caveat emptor. It means buyer be aware, this plot is not for sale. So for instance, you buy land and you decide you want to go to the UK for almost a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you want such that any person, any buyer who comes along doesn't get duped. So you'll put such a post that says caveat emptor. You will register it with the Ministry of Lands, and then that poster, you'll put it there. So anyone who goes to do a search will find a caveat on it, meaning that there's another person with an interest in that land. So most of the times people use it when you bought land and you don't have anyone to tend to it. So that now your interest has priority when, in case that person purchases, it's subject to your interest. Then we have a caution. A caution is a notice in form of a register to the effect that no action of a specified nature in relation to the land can be done. So for instance, if your grandfather is senile and old and you know your uncle is likely to go and transact the land, the best to put would be a caution. So you as a grandchild will put a caution on the land such that no sale should go through unless the rest of your father's brothers and whatever are called in for a meeting. So the caution can be put in by even a purchaser, a bona fide purchaser. So you're buying the land, you've paid more than 50%, but you're worried. You've had this person is talking to other possible purchasers. So that's when you'll go and put a caution. So you'll go to the land registry, they'll give you a form to fill together with an affidavit stipulating the interest you have in the land. So I can't just wake up one day and put a caveat or a caution on land that I cannot show my relation to. So I'll have to carry documentation that supports my affiliation to that parcel. So in this case, when the registrar is satisfied, they'll lodge the caution in the register. So anyone doing a search of the land, it will come that there's a caution on it. However, the registrar may refuse to see logic and be like, you're acting out of your own wits and refuse to register the caution. There is where now you can go to court and ask for the court to give you an order instructing the registrar to register a caution in your benefit. How does one place and remove a caveat or caution? There's a notice and effect of caution. The registrar shall give notice in writing. So once you filled in the forms, the registrar shall give a notice in writing of a caution to the proprietor. So let's say I'm buying the land, I'm not done with the payment. So the registrar will write to the person I'm purchasing from to let them know that there's going to be one registered on it, okay? And then withdrawal or removal of the caution. A caution can be removed by the person lodging the same. So if I lodge it and then I'm satisfied that the threat is gone, I can remove it. That's the first way. The second way, the registrar may, on application of another person interested, serve notice on the cautioner, warning him that his caution will be removed at the expiration stated in the notice. So caution is time bound. I can say put the caution until December, because that's when our agreement stipulates I should finish purchasing the land. So come December, it will automatically die out. So I'll be given a notice to be told that it's coming to an end and the caution will extinguish by itself. Second caution in respect to the same matter. So you can have one caution and someone else comes and put a second caution and then a third. So good example, I purchase a piece of land. I feel you're going to sell it, yet I paid you more than 70%. I put a caution. But you who I'm buying from, or the bank, so the bank can come and put a second caution. But when it comes to consideration, it will go in order of priority. So if I put a caution before you, my interest is superior to yours. So that is how they operate. And then wrongful caution. If you put a caution in a place where you're not supposed to, by using forged documents and all that, it's an offense. And you can be liable to compensate such a person. So who can lodge? That we have already done. You can lodge if you are a leaseholder, if you're a person purchasing and you're yet to finish the purchase price, if you're a family member, all those can lodge. And then now leases. So a lease is an interest in land. Mostly it's 99 years with the government. You can extend, you can renew. So basically up here is what we have just discussed, between the difference between extension and renewal. So if you lease land for like 70 years, and no, 70 is too huge. You lease land for, let's say, 10 years, and you want to construct an apartment complex. So the duration is not long enough for you to recoup what you've invested into it. So you can apply for an extension before it even expires. But now let's say you have 50 years, and then when it gets finished, you can actually apply for renewal. So most clients, I advise them to do extension because the property still is yours, as opposed to renewal when you lose the interest and you're applying afresh. Compulsory acquisition. This is a way which the government can come in and make private land public land. So when does this happen? The best examples will be construction of roads, when they want to convert it for public good, when they want to, let's say, set up a school, when they want to, let's say, like the SGR, all that. So those were governed by compulsory acquisition. It should be something for public good. So before it's done, there has to be prior approval from the respective cabinet secretary to there before the National Land Commission commences the acquisition process. Then there'll be drawings, there'll be listing of numbers. You've seen the Gazette notices. Parcels of numbers have to be put on the Gazette notice. Official search should be shown, so we are only compensating people who are the registered owners of land. The environment impact assessment report for the respective project, like the SGR had one, and then the relocation action plan. Where are you taking these people that you're taking their land from them? And then availability, and then public participation, final survey, and vesting orders. So once this whole process is done, they'll be compensated at market value, I think times a certain figure, depending on what the NLC will approve. So these guys will be compensated. Yes, it's compulsory acquisition, but you'll be compensated for the inconvenience. And then now we have community land. So this mostly affects the pastoralists. So you need to know all this so that when you're going to purchase a community land, you don't deal with one family member because it's community land. It cannot be sold like land that I own in my name. So community land is land that is owned by a group of people. They can be shared by ethnicity and all that. So what constitutes community land? It's land traditional and or historical use for communal purposes, mostly grazing, things like those, ancestral lands, yeah? So you'll find like 10 grandfathers died, but they never separated the land, they never had title deeds. So all their children were farming together and all that. So that qualifies to be community land. There has to be an affiliation of either ethnicity or clanship or group such that you cannot affiliate, you cannot say that this portion belongs to so-and-so for it to be community land. How will community land be managed? So there'll be a register of community lands in Kenya. Communities will be registered as corporate bodies, just like we register companies. Registrations will be done in the name of the community. Then the community assemblies will be held annually. Ni kama baraza, we'll have barazas that sit. So community land management committees will be formed to manage the parcel. So before any sale goes through, then these committees have to sit. Their boards must approve. So even when you're going to buy land in areas like Kajiado, in areas where we have the pastoralist community without individual title deeds, this is what will apply to you. You fail to follow the process, then it means you have an illegal transaction. Is it possible to convert community land to public or private? Yes, it can be converted once they go through the compulsory acquisition process. They will transfer, and then it will have to be surrendered, and it will be agreed on by a county assembly. So each county assembly will make determinations for community land within their counties.
Okay.
And then what are some of the special rights? A committee may, upon application approval of the community assembly, may allocate part of the community land to a member of the group. For instance, I want my own parcel. Nothing stops the community from sitting down and apportioning each one of us. And then those who want to still remain in the amorphous group of being a community can continue being there. This is to protect the pastoralists that are never there from issues of people disinheriting them.
Peggy,
and then, yes?
Just before you proceed, let me just interject. For those of us who are actually watching us or part of this, you can actually get in touch with us. We'll share the contacts of the panelists so that you can get to ask questions even after this webinar. Peggy, in the interest of time, I'll only just give you 1 minute, if you don't mind.
I think I can wrap up the last bit in 2, if that's okay.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so my last part was going to be on how you can transfer this asset involuntarily. Because when you purchase, that's voluntary transfer. But when you pass on and this land has to be distributed to your people, that is involuntary transfer. So that's where now succession comes in. So succession now will be the law of succession and how it applies to land. So we can die tested or intested. When you're tested, you die with a will. So the will specify what everyone gets, and that is self-explanatory. And then now, but these wills will only be validated if it's before witnesses and you are not coerced, you are not of unsound mind when you are making it. And then now we have intested succession. For this one now, you have died, and most of the people in those upcountry homes die from the home, and they don't have wills yet. So what is the hierarchy of inheritance? So it is the father. If the father is dead, is the mother. If the mother is dead, is the brothers and sisters. If they're dead, is the half brothers and half sisters. If you have none, it's any distant relative up to the 6th degree. the aunt to the aunt to the aunt to the 6th degree. So if none of these exist, then your property will revert to the state. So why is this important to note? Is that when you're purchasing land, understand the genesis. Which kind of regime is this land on? Is it community? Is it land that was owned by a grandfather that died? What was the process? Did the land pass on to the right person? Did the title deed change? So that's why the intestate succession process is important. So you don't purchase or acquire interest in land from a person not capable of transferring that interest. And with that, I will end my presentation right there.
Thank you very much, Peggy. We have a lot of questions, and I can see, I can tell even the participants, people who are watching, they have so many. Land is actually one of the emotive. It's actually an emotive issue that affects us day in, day out, and in light of this, we will actually give you the contacts of Peggy's contacts, as well as Gloria's and Jacky, just to raise your concerns even after the webinar. Next, next in line is actually Sarah Gloria Awinja. Sarah just said is actually a practicing real estate agent, and she's here with us just to give us more tidbits in as far as property investment outside Nairobi is concerned. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you everybody who's listening in. Thank you also, Peggy, for the presentation. She's tackled most of the legal part, which is actually the biggest chunk of any real estate purchase. But that said, there are also better things and there are also good things about this property purchase, and that's what I might delve in. To start with, I will like to ask as a question. If, for example, you are stranded in an island, what 3 things would you come back with? A question to ponder on as we move on. So I will start us with the good. Sorry, the slides are being shared. Maybe you can move to the first slide, please. And there we are. That's the question I was asking. If you're stranded in an island, what 3 things would you come back with? This is what I'd like you to think about even as I continue with my presentation. On to the second slide. The good part. Why should we invest in property? Why should we invest in property even away? This comes from what we are going through and what came to us last year in the month of March, the COVID-19 pandemic. What it taught us is that most of us would love to be on the outside, would love to have more space. Now that we were working from home, our children were studying from home, and even we were gymming at home, and everything was just at home, even eating and dining. All of that we were doing it at home. And this, I believe, would have been very hard for the people who lived in cramped up places. And then what better place to get away from all these, apart from, especially if you are in Nairobi, because most of the residents in Nairobi actually live in apartments where you cannot get enough space for yourself and to just enjoy everything. And especially now when you have to do everything at home. Most of us hadn't noticed this part because most of us used to leave our houses at 5 a.m. in the morning. Then you go to work and come back in the evening. So you never really got to even know which is this place you're living. So this is now why I would like us to move away from that. And then that is now why, please just go back to that slide. We are still on why. Yeah, thank you very much. So the reasons why we should be able to invest away from not only Nairobi, but all quote unquote major towns. Number one, the number one issue is that the property prices are still low if you move away from Nairobi. And number two, with the devolution, as that earlier been told, there are so many opportunities that you can get outside here. For example, if you get a property, you can get property which has enough land, and you can build your house there, which would cost you slightly less than if you bought quote unquote an apartment, say in the bigger towns. Something also else about the investment opportunities is if you live outside, okay, I'll just use Nairobi quote unquote in this context, but there are so many other opportunities out there. For example, with devolution, you can see that most professionals are moving to this side. And when they move to this side, their number one headache is always housing. If you've ever been there, you'll always hear people complaining that there are no decent houses in these areas, houses to live in. So that would be the number one thing, that once you buy a property, you can actually invest into good residential units. Number two are things like school, and especially the younger ones, kindergartens and primary school. Those ones also, if you would invest in them, you'd really make a good saving out of it. Number three is things like hostels. This is in the places where there are big institutions like universities and institutions of higher learning, other institutions of higher learning. You can actually get a lot of, you can actually have a lot of that. So also, there's also some other things. You can also invest into hotels, business, recreational, and agriculture as well. So then we move to the next, which is the downside of these things and the things that you actually need to watch out for. Let's move to the next slide, please, for the interest of time. What to watch out for, these are the untold stories. Most of this has been picked up by my colleague Peggy, who's the advocate. She's really said a lot of things about what you really need to be careful on. What I just like to emphasize on is, number one, informal subdivision. You'll find that people sell land minus asking other people, as in minus consult the other interested persons. So you might have bought from someone, even maybe finished paying, only for like 2 years down the line, somebody to come and claim that they're actually the correct owner of that land. So that happens a lot in these other lands outside. And number two, another big issue is the issue of boundaries. You'll find that the boundaries for these areas where the title is freehold, as we've earlier been told, they are normally general boundaries, which means it's either with either a fence or trees or furrows or things like that, which can actually be very hard to actually actualize. And that's where the surveyors are actually very important. When you're purchasing property, please enlist the services of a surveyor, enlist the services of a lawyer, enlist the services of a registered agent. Maybe let's also move to the next slide, which is which is a quote by a gentleman called Robert Kiyosaki. It says that it's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. That for any investment you do, be it land, be it stock, be it wherever, just make sure that you are always on top of things, that you always know what's happening, so that it can serve you, it can serve the next generation up to the 6th generation, as our able lawyer said. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah. That was quite insightful, and now we know, in as far as at least we have some information, whether general or whatever, we have some information in as far as investing outside Nairobi is concerned. And that's why we had to start with a lawyer, then the real estate agent. Now we come to the insurance part of it, and none better than Jacky Muiga to address us in as far as this is concerned. Jacky, take the floor. I'd already introduced yourself, so just take the floor. We have like 10 minutes to 10 minutes. So if you, the work of a moderator is quite hard. So just understand me kindly. Thank you.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you very much. As I was listening to my panelists, Peggy and Gloria, I was looking at it and imagining now I'm the one to crown it all. And actually, a lot of things were going around my head, imagining that somebody has bought such a beautiful property and then just finds it too expensive to do a fence around it. So I was asking myself, or which I would ask to the audience today, that is it not more expensive to have the property itself and then the fence which is more expensive. Therefore, as I represent the insurance, I want to say that it is a hedge that we build around the assets that we have, or anything that we count of value to us. To buy a property is quite expensive. When I'm doing financial planning, I can attest that it takes a long while to accumulate funds. Then from there, buy either a plot or a piece of land. It is quite a journey. It calls for a lot of discipline. Somebody must be committed, sacrifice a lot to be able to get there. Therefore, it is wise for us to build a hedge so that we can ensure, as Gloria was putting it, that we can ensure that the assets we have can be inherited to the 6th or even 7th to the rest of the generation to come. And that's what we call proper financial planning. So I'll ask Richard to help me with the slides. We can go to the second one and move on. And what we are learning about the property insurance and other insurances that we count, we are going to learn from this animal today, the secrets of the buffalo. If you think about buffalo in your own things, you realize that this is the animal that protects its young ones. I know most of us love watching the videos of animals, the wild animals moving around. One unique thing you notice about the buffalo is the strength it puts when you want to attack the calf. They all come together and protect. Therefore, we learn that we need to protect our assets so that we can grow our wealth, okay? Because we do so much to accumulate wealth, we need to protect, or what we call in financial language, conservation of wealth. We can move on, Richard. Specifically, I was requested to speak about property insurance, and I would say that it's a broad term. It is quite wide. So we break it into small policies, whereby now specifically we talk about what we are covering you for, because it can be as wide. Therefore, property insurance is a broad term for a series of policies that provide property protection coverage, or what you call liability coverage for property owners, so that we can be sure that we can have this. We can move on. We've been requested to make it quite short. So the type 1 is fire and arid perils. This means that you can cover your buildings and its contents against, it safeguards the insurance, the insured or the owner of the property against unforeseen contingency caused by accidental fire, lightning, explosion, destruction, or damage caused by aerial devices, man-made perils, riots, you can count them, floods, landslide, anything. And what we emphasize in insurance, I know many people feel like, oh, insurance policies are too detailed, some things you don't read. If you notice, I've said accidental fire. It has reached a point whereby some people cause the fire so that the insurance can pay. That's why we have to investigate and ensure that it's accidental, it was not intended, it's not malice. Okay, so fire and arid perils, especially to the people who are taking the cover. This one, I mean that if a mad person came, for example, and burnt your asset, we are going to cover you, but not you doing it. So we cover against accidental things happening, things that are unforeseen. The buildings we are talking about here, or the property we are talking about here, could be residential, whereby you build for rental purposes or for your own house. Could also be commercial buildings. We can move to the next one. The next one is burglary and theft. This compensates for loss of damage or damage caused to insured property and variable items such as jewels, cash of stocks, goods, anything, whereby maybe a house is broken into by a thug and the burglary happens. It goes to an extent whereby somebody may break in, but maybe they didn't steal anything, but they have spoiled your door, they have spoiled your windows and all that the insurance covers. Then we have what we call all risk. all risk insurance contract or open perils policy offers you coverage and protection from all risks or perils that could damage your home or contents and personal property, unless the risks are excluded. We usually, when you're coming in, there are some exclusions that we may find depending on what you really value, okay? And that helps us to do the costings, okay? Richard, we may move on to the next one. Sorry. So we've covered the all risk. We go to the next one. This is very, very important. The public liability or the third party claims. This provides an indemnity to the insured for legal liability to third parties for damages in respect of accidental bodily injury, death, diseases, that are illnesses that may occur. In simple terms, it means a third party is a person who is not the owner of the property, and maybe the property or the wall of your property may fall into a third party, somebody who does not own this property. And these people may come claiming that your property damaged me. Because of your property, death occurred. Because of your property, something else was spoiled, including other people's properties or businesses. Or this public liability covers you against such things. You may not know about them, but you can imagine if your wall fell on a child of the neighbor, you can imagine paying for death. These things can make you lose the whole property that you took too long to actually acquire. I didn't want to take much more time than that, but what I would wish to encourage you people, the audience, and all of us who are listening is that insurance covers are extremely affordable. For huge building, maybe you are charged just 5,000, 10,000 shillings a year. It's quite affordable, yet it frees you. You have more peace of mind than somebody who has no fence around their properties. We say you can imagine the city of Jerusalem without its walls. It means anything can enter and go, you know, but when you have a wall, all protection against your assets, against anything that you value, including life covers, it means a lot for you. So thank you. Richard, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jacky. Thank you very much, panelists, for those insightful tidbits in as far as investing is concerned, property investment is concerned. Jacky, we have a question for you, but just before I pose the question to you, just as I said earlier, participants, I will be sharing with you the email and the contacts for our panelists. So just in case you have questions and we run out of time, we can raise them using the appropriate platforms that they have shared with us. I will also be sharing as well the social media handles for HT Media. So just in case you have information you want shared to you, we can address them on that platform. Jacky, we have a question for you. And the participant is asking, can we take insurance on rented houses? Is there a provision for this?
Yes,
proceed, Jacky.
Yes. Wow, that's a good question. I love the question. Yes, you can take an insurance for rented houses, but this one will not now cover the building. The building does not belong to you. It belongs to the landlord. So what you can take is maybe domestic package, what we call your furniture and what is inside there. So we have that domestic package.
So it's domestic package? Yes, proceed.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute.
So
yes.
I'm trying to explain that because this person has rented the premises, the premise does not belong to the tenant. So what the tenant owns are the contents inside the house, like the furnitures. Maybe you have your laptops in there, you have beds in there. Those things you can cover them under what we call a domestic package. But you cannot cover the building itself. So if the building was to go into rubble or it burnt itself, we can only cover for you the contents that are inside. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jacky. Peggy, we also have a question for you over here. One of the participants is asking, my father, when I was 3 years old, my uncles took all my father's property and stroke buildings and land. I am now of age and would like the property back. It is over 20 years because I am now 23. What can I do? There are these instances where people take advantage just because of your age. You're not able to address the issue as a mature individual. But Peggy, how do we address this? I mean, for this individual who is now of age, how can you help him or her? Unmute, please, Peggy. You're mute.
That's a very good question, and it cuts across the board. Almost in every community, we have that family where one father unfortunately died prematurely and the kids were young. So the good thing is, if it was land your father bought, if it's land your father bought and he passed on, for that it will be very hard to prove. But if it is ancestral land that was accruing to him by right of him being the child of your grandfather, then you can institute succession proceedings. So when you institute succession cause, you will have to go through the tedious process of putting together what you think were this person's property. And most of these problems begin with the grandfather. You might find your uncles were able to do that because your father and the uncles never separated their interests. So for example, your grandfather passed on and the property was subdivided. It went through succession and it was subdivided so that your father had his own title deed. For that one, it will be easier. The process will be shorter. But if the same did not happen and the land is still part of the bigger chunk, you can just still institute succession proceedings and you'll be entitled to your father's portion as his children. So the law is there to protect you on that, considering that you just turned 23, it means he died when there was very little you could do about it. So right now you can go through the entire process of succession, only that now in place of your father's name, it will be you and your entire siblings, including your sisters, because now land can be inherited by both genders. In fact, will be inherited by each of them unless they decide to relinquish their parts and leave it to the brothers. So succession proceedings can come through for you, and now uncles will be restricted to what they are supposed to have inherited. And because of the toxicity, you can opt to sell and buy elsewhere where you'll have peace.
Thanks, Peggy. I can see as well a question over here who is from an individual who is asking, is it possible to acquire title deed, especially if you are the fourth generation, when none of the first and second generation is alive? Peggy, I think this question as well can be addressed by you. Is it possible? Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible for you to acquire a title deed. All you have to do is file the case depending on how you acquired it. If it's by inheriting it, it will be more of a succession cause, explaining how the land came to you. So it will explain from who was that, and then to your father or whoever to you through your birth certificate, your affiliation to them. So the records can be regularized in that matter. They will normally draw a family tree. So like from your grandfather, we draw like how many sons did he have and daughters, to how many children did he have and all that. So if all these people are not there and can be evidenced by death certificates, then the entire process will take place, and at some point you'll have to do a gazette notice to the entire country and even to newspaper of national circulation, I think 2 papers, to just confirm that there's nobody out there we are disinheriting, but giving this entire property to you. Yes, it's possible to get a title deed even if you are the 4th generation.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, at least we know. I can also see a question over here. If if you had acquired a property and insured it, and you realize that it was not from the right owner, will the insurance still insure for the loss? Jacky, if you were duped of land, then you get to realize later that it was not rightfully acquired from the real owner. Can you still insure the loss if the takeover happens?
I think we would take it back to Peggy to actually help us way forward. Because the person bought the land or the property, then later we insured, then the property is lost, which was not yours. I would want to know further. Was it intentional that you did that? So we'd go back to court before we move on, because, or maybe we return your premiums. That can be determined of the property, because the property wasn't yours in the first place, and you gave us wrong information, and we work with utmost good faith. So that one we can meet at Peggy's doors at court, so that we decide what to do at that point.
I'd just like to add on to that. For you to insure anything, you have to have insurable interest onto it. So insurable interest is determined by your affiliation to it. So only owners can insure property. That's why, like our Ebola panel was discussing, it was made clear that if it's a rental property, you can't insure the building, but only your items that are contained in there. So I think in this case, we'll have to go through the entire process of court, where we'll determine, were you in collusion? Were you an innocent purchaser who was duped? Were you someone who actually believed whoever sold to you was the owner? So all these things will be factored in, such that once there's the court order determining you as the owner, or the bona fide purchase and be returned to the amount you spent, then only then is when now insurance can come in and pay up on the losses you incurred. However, if it turns out that there was a bad faith, there was dubiousness, you are acting also maybe like the way the banks sell charged properties, you are working in collusion with someone in the bank and all that. So when you don't become honest and you want to circumvent the premium system, that's when now insurance will not pay. And that's when people will tell you insurance is just a hoax. It's not a hoax if you play your part and you actually just, because down there they tell you are confirming that this is the truth to the best of your knowledge. So the second we will prove that you had knowledge that this was incorrect information, then you will lose your premium and you will not be compensated. So honesty is the policy for land processes, court processes, and insurance in general.
Exactly. And again, I can add as well, ignorance is no defense. That's one of the policies as well in law processes. I think, Gloria, you have been quite silent, so let me just pose this question to you on behalf of someone who's participating. Can I invest if I'm outside the country? How can I ask someone to invest on my behalf? Is it possible to do that? Gloria?
Thank you very much. I was actually enjoying listening to the other panelists. But yes, you can actually invest if you're outside the country, whether you're a foreigner. The law allows you to invest, and also if you're a Kenyan outside, you can. What you can do is to give power of an attorney to an advocate that you trust. Then they can actually do the whole process on your behalf. And to add on that, you also need now to bring in professionals like a registered and practicing estate agent, a registered and practicing surveyor, so that now they can do everything to the book. And also do your due diligence through the lawyer that you've trusted. You can also now tell him to actually do their due diligence so that you're not duped. Because land matters, there's a lot of duping, there's a lot of fraud, and such, I think. But yes, it's very possible if you incorporate professionals. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think we are running out of time. And of course, just before we proceed, just before we wind up, I think I can give each one of you just a minute each or a minute and a half for your final words. Let me start with you, Gloria. Your final words.
Thank you very much. What I'd like to tell people is when you're investing in property, especially in a place where you are not there consistently, number one, do not buy in the dry season. Wait until it's a wet season for you to actually now go and visit the property and just see how it behaves when it really rains torrentially, so that you can know if it's something that you really want. Number two, do not make a purchase during the festive season. Because number one, if you visited that place during a festive season, it will give you a false impression of what's going on there. And number three, if you want to buy a property in a place, please go and speak, especially to the shopkeepers. They know a lot about the area. They'll give you free information about the area. They'll even tell you what exactly is the need of the area, so that in case you're buying the property for investment purposes, you can actually know what it is you can put up there. And as a final note is the quote by Ben Graham that says, act consistently as an investor and not as a speculator. That even if you're buying for speculation, act as an investor consistently, and you'll see rewards of your investment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jacky, final words?
Yes, that was a very good topic. I've enjoyed. Maybe I would encourage each one of us, the people listening, and all of us to do proper financial planning. A proper financial planning has what we call 3 pillars of wealth management. One being accumulation of wealth. I know there are so many people who would wish to own a property, own something, but they don't know how to go about it. So we teach them accumulation of wealth. Then the next pillar is called conservation of wealth. How can you protect that wealth from being taken away in case of an eventuality happening? The third pillar of wealth management is distribution pillar, whereby you now do a will. You see Peggy for a will. You've already seen Awinja for accumulation of wealth and acquired a property. From there, you need to do a will, whereby now you distribute so that there is no war. For lawyers, they usually find it so hard to deal with properties. So I would really encourage the viewers of today, the participants of today, to ensure that they do proper wills through the lawyers, so that there is easy way of moving from one generation to the other. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jacky. Last but not least, Peggy Mideva. Last word.
For me, it will just be to say that evidence of material evidence make it easier for rights to be enforced. For instance, if you purchased a property, don't pay via cash. Pay via bank, have something. For everything you do, think about it when push comes to shove. What do I have to prove that this is actually what happened? It's not your word against my word against his word. So for every transaction you do, please let there be witnesses, let there be documents, let there be, for any small amount, even if it's 5,000, 10,000, they will go to speak to intent, because sometimes you get a seller saying, I did not want to sell the land, this person, I don't know them, but when you ask for basic documents, their ID, their KRA pin, those shows that this person was there with you. Where did you get the KRA pin if the person didn't give it to you? So be personal, be selfish, no matter who you're purchasing from, irrespective of if it's a family member. Don't trust anyone. Trust your investment, protect it zealously. Look into insurance, look into a good asset agent to advise you. But there's one stakeholder that we all normally forget. Always remember a valuer. So we have valuers in Kenya who can come, check the property, and tell you what is the retail rate as at that time. Make use of them. Don't be duped. Don't pay exorbitant amounts for something that you can't let go for the same amount or even higher. Land appreciates. And all in all, be honest and truthful, and all this process will be seamless. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, ladies. Let me throw this last question to you, Peggy. Just one last question. Who is the first person we should contact in terms of investment? Is it the lawyer? Is it Gloria as a real estate agent? Is it the insurance? Who is the first person to contact? Kindly.
Personally, I would go to a lawyer first for a due diligence report, confirming things like ownership of the land, all those kind of things, when you still have a fleet of land you're choosing from. Real estate agent will be advisable when you want to know about the various strategic plannings of places. They work hand in hand with valuers. So they will tell you if that value is ideal for, let's say, a house in Kitengela versus a house in Isinya, what's the difference? And then our insurance will be the last person, because you must have the property first before they can calculate for you the premium and the risks and all those kind of things. So I think all the four stakeholders are important, and you can engage all of them at once. The real estate can come first to help you look for these alternative premises. The lawyer can be concurrently doing due diligence, but insurance is always last after you've acquired the interest and already invested your money.
All right, thank you very much. What a way to wind up this this particular webinar. For all our participants, I shared with you the contacts of the panelists. Just in case you have any questions or any concerns, you can raise them using those platforms. And as well, they can also share with you their email addresses once you raise them on phone. I also want to appreciate each and every one of you, from our participants to the panelists to HT Media for organizing this. We are really grateful, very grateful indeed. I also shared the social media platform just in case you have any concerns. You can follow us. You can tell a friend to tell a friend. Just let us know if you have any issues or any concern, and we shall address them as well. HT Media is actually a digital media company that enhances digital issues or digital advocacy and even trainings. You can contact us using those platforms. Up until then, we shall let you know on when our next training will be. My name is Richard Madenge. I've been your moderator for today. Just in case you have any questions, you can again raise them using our platform, different platforms. Thank you very much, ladies. Have a nice afternoon and evening. God bless you. Thank you.